The third part of Laura's conversation with U.S. Forest Service officials is coming up in less than 15 minutes. Right now, we move on to a discussion about STEAM education. You're probably familiar with STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, but there's a growing push to add an A for arts into the mix. STEAM education is about applying creative thinking to STEM projects along with real-world problem solving. This week, executive producer Jeff Proctor speaks with Dr. Shelley Gruenig, who runs a STEM nonprofit and works with young people to help spark interest in new technology, and Karen Kinsman, who's been expanding and diversifying the UNM STEM-H Center through pre-college STEM competitions. Jeff asks them how STEAM education can set New Mexico students up for future success.
Karen, Shelley, thank you both so much for joining me on New Mexico in Focus today.
Absolutely.
So excited.
So I think most viewers will be familiar with STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education, but we are here to talk about STEAM with the A added in to stand for arts. Karen, what is the big idea behind adding that A?
I think the big idea is to acknowledge the fact that creativity plays a huge role in every aspect of STEM. And bringing arts into it also, I think, expands the pool of interested young people who might not otherwise kind of resonate with just STEM, right?
How recent a development is that to have added that A? I know when I talk to a lot of folks, they don't know STEAM when that gets mentioned.
I don't know, Shelley. How long has
I
it
first
been?
heard about it at least 15 years ago, but it's always been a little contentious discussion as to what letters get added into STEM. And so I think that that's, a piece of it, why it's been very slow to maybe catch on. And I think that we're finding it more and more now because people are understanding that we need to reach down to younger and younger ages with our STEM education and enrichment programs. And by bringing those youth in at those elementary, pre-K, kindergarten levels, STEAM is a really beautiful way to do that.
Let's stay with you for a moment, Shelley. I want to talk some more about creativity. I like that word in the educational context. I certainly remember as a student in elementary school myself, it felt like that was sort of tamped down in a way. I'm interested in how it has shaped education over the course of the last number of recent years, and what changes you've seen as a result of what sounds like sort of a philosophical shift in the way we teach.
Absolutely. Well, I think that it shaped it by people are understanding, and research is showing us more that creativity is directly linked to innovation. And especially here in New Mexico, we have such an active, innovative community that people are understanding. Of course, in New Mexico, we also have a very active arts community. And so it is kind of this beautiful, beautiful crossroads of merging those together and seeing what the amazing things that can come out of that. But it is influencing our education. And as we see and start to value what is important in, say, the workforce down the road, in our communities, that is then reflected in the education system, I believe. So I don't know if Karen would agree with that, but.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you founded the STEAM Center for Excellence in Rio Rancho. Can you tell me a little bit about how that came together?
When small children create and make creations, that builds not only their experience and their knowledge, but it also builds their self-confidence. And so that's just been a part of it for us. But then as time has gone on, we've become really great partners. We've had a lot of really great partnerships with arts organizations, like community arts organizations, but we've also been building in other types of arts, media arts. For one example, stop motion animation has been a really important part to communicate ideas, right? And so that's just grown. And this STEAM Center for Excellence really has come through a partnership with the Cal Ripken Senior Foundation and the Encantado Foundation, who got on board and said, we need more of this, not only just to open up to the community, but also to help educators and help prepare them and maybe take the fear out of STEM or the fear out of STEAM, depending on what their background is.
Gotcha. Karen, what are some of the other advantages or practical or mechanical advantages that students get through STEAM education that they might not get in what we think of as sort of a traditional K through 12 learning environment?
Yeah, so I think as Shelley was talking, I was thinking about the fact that we're seeing more and more students, especially who are engaging in research projects or engineering design projects, engaging in that creative process, and also doing a lot more than we saw 20 years ago, interdisciplinary projects, right? Or interdisciplinary work, teamwork. And that creative process it's all part of the research process. It's all part of the engineering design process. I mean, engineering design in and of itself is a creative effort, right? And I think we're starting to see how important it is for students to understand that process and to learn how to engage in it. And I think for especially elementary school teachers and even some middle school teachers, they haven't had a lot of time themselves in science labs or in engineering design themselves, and so it's a little scary. And I think when you sort of couch that a little differently in terms of encouraging the creative process, it's a little less daunting and a little less scary.
Putting all of those ideas that both of you have described together, how can STEAM education and a focus on what we're talking about here today help to address some of the really pressing environmental problems we have in the state?
Well, I mean, we've seen a number of students over the last several years, probably, more heavily in the last 10 years as the topic has become kind of more of a hot button issue. We've seen more and more students doing environmentally focused projects, like pretty serious stuff, looking at what's going on in the New Mexico environment. We've also seen, for instance, Native American students who have done preservation projects. On a number of years ago, a student did a preservation project on eagle feathers, and how do you, because that's such a culturally important piece of their world, and how do you preserve that for forever? How do you make that part of your culture?
Let's throw another letter into our mix of alphabet soup here today. I want to talk about the letter H. So you direct UNM's STEAM H Center, the H standing in for the word health. What do we mean by health in this context?
So we really mean health professions, anything related to health professions. And the maybe controversy over it is, okay, so health professions is still part of STEM. And to be perfectly honest, it started as a piece of the joint institutional support that we get from both the Health Sciences Center and the main campus Office for Research. And so we added that as part of sort of recognition of that partnership initially. But really it is also kind of just recognizing the fact that health professions sort of weave themselves through all of the STEM disciplines.
Integration is sort of the word that keeps coming to mind as we continue the conversation here.
Can I throw one in there too?
Please, of course, yes.
So what I want to say about STEM, STEAM, when I think about that A and we talk about it as art, I also think of it as accessibility. It creates accessibility. Like you were saying, it kind of softens that scientific, engineering, mathematics in a way that makes it more accessible to not only our educators, but also our families and our students. And we did an amazing program out in Cuba this summer with girls in our Girls into Tech program. And they just grab on to that A especially, but then helping them to see how they can take this art project that they're working on and use thread that's going to be conductive, right, and create lights, and that just really grabs at their heart, especially those kids in our state in particular that are in underserved areas. And I think it's so important, and that relates back to the whole issue of taking care of our state, right? How do we take care of our state? How do we equip our kids to take care of the environment and to care about that? And like you said, Karen, like just being able to empower them is such an important part of that.
Yeah.
My last question, and I'll ask you both to weigh in on this one. Are there other factors or conditions maybe in New Mexico that make this sort of a unique place to introduce these kinds of topics? Or is this more universal? Are STEAM and STEM-H concepts or philosophies around teaching children that should apply more universally?
Well, I think we're at the heart of STEAM education and enrichment for the country. I think that we are leading that movement in many ways, whether it's STEAM because, you know, at the labs we're using computer-aided design and designing really life-changing national security equipment, yet that's still connected to art and creativity, right, and innovation. Or whether it's our jewelry makers that are using technical ways of creating art for themselves. You know, the two women who are up in Taos using cement to build 3D printed homes, right? Those are all unique things, and in a way, I think most of us New Mexicans like to pride ourselves for still being a little bit of the Wild West, right? And wanting to impact change across the country. And we are really at the crossroads. We could talk about that for a long time, but I'm sure Karen.
You know, I think one of the things I never knew about Sandia Labs that I found out last year is they have an amazing makerspace. And it's available to anybody who has base access. And they have everything you could imagine, and someone there who's managing that space and training people how to use the equipment. And they're taking, the Sandia employees are coming in using that makerspace and taking what they're making back to their work, right? So I think that's another way that, you know, that Sandia Lab in particular has recognized the importance of promoting creativity and helping even their own employees understand, you know, what you're doing requires a creative process. And so let's provide you with another outlet for seeing how that can happen, right? I also think that another way we're sort of at the forefront is if you can see it, you can be it. That's kind of always in the back of my mind with the students that we're working with, is how do we provide opportunities where the student can say, I can see myself being like that, right? And not just presenting them with what's in the back of their minds, right? Most young students will still, if you say draw a scientist, they'll still draw Albert Einstein, basically, right? And so it's important, I know Shelley and I have talked about this before, it's important to us to provide opportunities for students to engage with young STEM professionals so that they can go, oh, I could do that.
Karen, Shelley, thank you both for shining a little light on this for our viewers today. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.